Thank you very much, Clay, for the introduction. And good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to see all of you. It's a pleasure to be in Saskatoon here for this luncheon. I've been in Saskatoon quite a bit over the last number of weeks. We moved our oldest daughter up to Saskatoon to go to university here, and so we've been enjoying time here and on the campus. And this summer, we've had a great chance to mix a little bit of work and travel around our great province. Earlier on, the travel was mostly about flooding and mostly about disasters that this province faced, I think, immeasurably well. And it's a credit not to the government, the handling of those disasters. It's a credit to local government that we have in Saskatchewan. It's a credit to volunteers right across this province who really handled 1 in 500-year events with aplomb and with the safety of their citizens in mind. And you in this community in Saskatoon are served by that kind of municipal leadership personified in Mayor Atch. Mayor, we have prized the relationship that we have with you to be able to move forward together on important projects and to know that while we won't agree on every single thing, we'll agree on probably more than maybe we would have thought of starting out, and more importantly than that, we've been able to make progress in the interests of the people of the province, the people of our largest city here in Saskatoon, and so in front of the North Saskatoon Business Association, I just want to say thank you for that leadership, and if the voters are willing, we look forward to working with you in the future. I want to tell you a story today about a province that was leading the nation in almost every economic category. A province known for having some of the lowest taxes in the country. A province whose economic strength created thousands of jobs year after year after year, attracting young families and young Canadians from the rest of the country to this province. A province that, as a result, led the nation in population growth. A province that had built its brand on opportunity and on entrepreneurship and on stability in the business environments. A brand that became recognized by investors around the world. A province that had not just balanced budgets, but successive surplus budgets. A province whose resource strength allowed it to eliminate its debt. By August of 2008, they had forecasted budget surpluses in that province of $8.5 billion. But within just a few months from that forecast, things would change. By the end of 08-09 fiscal year, that $8.5 billion budget surplus had evaporated, was gone, replaced by an $850 million deficit. So what happened in that province? Well, let's be fair. There was a worldwide recession that intervened, and commodity prices fell, and that province depended on commodity prices. So that's obviously a big part of it, maybe even the major part of that change from an $8.5 billion forecast surplus to $850 million in the ditch. But there was something else that happened in that province that's informative to us today in this city and in Saskatchewan. On 1 January 2009, there was the long-promised increases in that province's oil and gas royalties, natural resource royalties, came into effect. A couple of years before that was when the review, in the name of a fair sharing of resource revenue with the people of that province, Alberta, a review recommended a 20% royalty hike that did take effect in 2009. The prediction, by the way, was that increasing royalties would increase revenues by $1.4 billion. I wonder if they had billboards at that time, during that debate in Alberta, of maybe a grandma from somewhere in Europe asking Albertans to imagine what they would do with all the extra millions they'd raise if they increased royalties. Well, the revenue didn't come in stronger. There was less revenue, certainly due to a downturn in the world, but also due to the fact that What was the Alberta advantage became the Saskatchewan advantage. Companies saw the instability of that change, the increased taxes, looked for more competitive places to do their business, and then left for them those competitive places. And to our great benefit and our great fortune, created jobs here in our province. National Post columnist Kevin Libben wrote at the time, quote, "Drillers everywhere took it on the chin. Alberta's new royalty system ensured this province would hurt the most. Land sales moved to British Columbia and Saskatchewan, and with them the rigs and the jobs. They laid down that Alberta advantage, not just as a slogan, but in reality and in policy and in theory, and then we picked it up. You picked it up as entrepreneurs and business leaders in this province, and together we chose a different path in Saskatchewan 4 years ago. We chose a growth agenda. Our growth agenda has always involved, systematically involved, really the following components. And by the way, if we get a chance after 7 November, we're going to continue with this agenda. It's involved tax reductions when they're affordable for families and for small business people. It's involved more competitive and balanced labor legislation in the province. It's involved historic infrastructure investments. It's based on fiscal probity, balanced budgets, and debt reduction. It's involved an innovation agenda that seeks to build the next economy on the strength of our resource economy. Build on the advantage we have in uranium. To build on the advantage we have in agriculture through plant crop sciences and plant biotics. Build on the advantage we have in hydrocarbons through pioneering clean coal technology. Our growth agenda has involved a more aggressive international engagement so that Saskatchewan's not the tree that fell in the forest, but that so the world hears about us. Our trading partners in the United States and in China and in India and in places like Bangladesh, our international engagement agenda has been very much part of our growth agenda. Labor market development has been part of our growth agenda. And again, listening carefully to groups like the NSBA, we've worked hard to respond on the training front. We've been much more aggressive in setting immigration targets, and we were talking about that this morning, even as this province faces labor shortages still and anew in some cases. 2001 to 2006, in that 5-year time frame, Saskatchewan attracted 8,000 immigrants. Part of the problem is we set low targets and low goals and didn't seek out a partnership with the federal government as other provinces have, and we've worked hard to change that. Again, taking our cue and counsel from small business people in this province. 8,000 immigrants from 2001 to 2006. This year alone, we'll do 12,000 immigrants, welcoming them to this province, and also working closely with First Nations to ensure a greater engagement of First Nations and Métis people in our economy and dealing with a labor shortage. Finally, our growth agenda has involved royalty stability. The royalty structure we have today makes our potash taxes, for example, highest in the country, or highest in the world. Highest in the country, too. New Brunswick has a mine, and I think they're third or fourth. So it was the Calvert government, and we asked for this in opposition, but it was the Calvert government that said, if we're going to attract investment to this province from potash companies, we're going to have to deal with the fact that our taxes are so high, so let's give them a temporary incentive if they will come here and invest in you, if they'll create jobs in the province. We supported it then, and what's happened since? We've tweaked it a little bit, by the way, in government. Our own quick review at the start of our term, almost $13 billion of investment and expansion in the potash industry is underway in Saskatchewan today, creating 19,000 person-years of construction jobs and 2,000 new permanent jobs. And by the way, those temporary incentives will be earned soon, and those royalty rates will return to the full level, and we're going to be making hundreds of millions of more dollars in your name in royalty revenues to reduce taxes and pay down debt and invest in quality of life. And in the meantime, we're able to attract those companies here. We've seen other great developments. We've seen Potash Corp move head office jobs here, and we saw BHP Billiton earlier this year announced, and I'm not sure we've trumpeted this enough in our province, announced that they're relocating their Canadian headquarters, their diamond potash division, from Vancouver to the great city of Saskatoon. And BHP is here today, and I just want to say to them in a public way, thank you very, very much for that vote of confidence in this economy and for your ongoing vote of confidence in terms of a brand new mine, potentially the largest in the world here in the province of Saskatchewan. So there's a debate in the province today, and there should be. And there'll be more debate in the election campaign about that particular issue, that part of our growth agenda where we advocate royalty stability. Others are saying there should be a review and actually an increase. Last April, just this past April, in a newspaper in this province, the Leader of the Opposition, to his credit in providing some details about his views on royalties in the province, said between 50% and 80% increase in potash royalties is something he thought was feasible. He went on to say, and I quote, if potash companies objected to massive tax hikes, that's added parenthetically to be fair, he said if potash companies objected to the point of shutting down operations and leaving the province, he said that wouldn't be a problem because Saskatchewan has mined potash before. Ladies and gentlemen, that's nationalization. That's what it is. And I didn't make it up. It's in the Melville Advance, I think April 17 of this year. What a chill that would put over the entire resource sector of any jurisdiction. Oil and gas and potash and rare earth minerals and diamonds, to have that kind of discussion happening. Nationalization. There are certain things that should stay in the 1970s. Casey and the Sunshine Band and shag carpets, and talk of nationalizing an industry that is the lifeblood of an economy that is putting us in a leadership position in this country. Growth in our province is manifesting itself in Saskatoon in great ways. If you had to pick an official bird for the city, Mayor, you'd want to maybe pick the construction crane. I could get sentenced to a penitentiary for stuff like that, but it's true. It's true on the east side. We're seeing also construction cranes in our capital city of Regina. In terms of post-secondary capital growth agenda, growth in the province is manifesting itself in things like $300 million for the new health sciences building at the University of Saskatchewan. The first on-campus housing built since I was in grade 6 in 1976. 400 units under construction, 400 more to come. It's manifesting itself in education capital and long-needed projects. A third of all the schools in the province have had some love from a capital perspective in the last number of years because of the growth that you're helping to create in Saskatoon. There's a new St. Mary's Community School, a new joint-use Willow Grove Elementary School, renovations to Edie Fian and St. Matthew's and Nutana Collegiate, and in healthcare projects, nearly $15 million towards the Irene and Leslie Dubé Center for Mental Health, a new mobile health bus, together with community-based organizations providing that and funding that, $250,000 to relocate and expand the West Side Clinic, and finally, for Saskatchewan, a children's hospital for $200 million that will be built here in Saskatoon. That's what growth builds. That's what growth does. The transportation infrastructure dollars in Saskatoon and area has increased 6 times in our first 4 years since the last 4 years of the previous administration. The Circle Drive South project is the largest single project in the city's history, Mayor, and thank you for mentioning it every now and then when you have a chance. $288 million project, and we're in for 86. It's about a third. And we're going to get that South Bridge built, and I know you probably would like me to discuss a North Bridge. And I know the NSBA would like that, and the Mayor would like that. Let me just say this about that. I'm not making an announcement today about the North Bridge. Let me just say that. But I will say this. 15 years is too long. I know what the planning horizon is for this particular project, and I've been on Idlewild and on the Circle, and I know that this is Canada's fastest growing city, and you can see it when you're driving around. And 15 years is too long to wait for this new bridge. So I will commit to this. If we get a chance to be the government after 7 November, we're going to have to look at this issue, Mayor, and maybe contact the federal government and see what can be done to advance the timeline here, to see if there's some innovation, some creativity we can bring to bear on this project. And I would also say this, that you've heard it said that the best indicator of future behavior is past behavior. Well, the best indicator of future bridges is past bridges. We got one done, Your Worship. And I have confidence that we can make significant progress and speed up the timelines for this important infrastructure project for Saskatoon. There is only one way, though, to pay for that bridge. There is only one way that we can make continued progress in terms of reducing healthcare personnel shortages, or fixing more highways, or building infrastructure in our municipal sector, or paying down debt, or reducing taxes, and that's growth. That's an economy that's growing, a tax base that's expanding and providing opportunities to fund these things for municipal governments and provincial governments and federal governments as well. And so now is not the time for risky royalty changes in Saskatchewan. Now is the time for stability. Now is the time for steady progress, to move forward in a leadership position. RBC's latest economic forecast shows Saskatchewan will lead the nation in growth at 4.3% this year and 4.1% next year. The CFIB's top 10 entrepreneurial cities include 3 from Saskatchewan. Saskatoon's number 3. The Conference Board of Canada's Metropolitan Outlook, released in the spring, compares the economic forecast for 13 centres, looking at predicted GDP growth for 2011. Saskatoon ranks number 1. Regina ranks number 3. Why would we want to mess with this? I don't think we do. We want to make progress. We want to move forward. So I think we're going to learn the lessons from those places that have tried some other things. I hope we do, because there's a lot at stake in Saskatchewan. And it's not about who wins the next election. What's at stake in this province is all of the progress that you have made, and the city that you have built, and the province that you have renewed. Because you see, today in Saskatchewan, more people are calling this province home than ever before. Today in Saskatchewan, more people are employed full-time than ever before. Today in Saskatchewan, taxes are lower. Income taxes are lower. Education property taxes are lower. Small business taxes have been cut. Today in Saskatchewan, a family of 4 will earn more here, before they pay any provincial tax at all, than anywhere else in Canada, including that other province. Today in Saskatchewan, the 440-person wait list that we inherited as a government of people with intellectual disabilities who are waiting for the dignity of a residence, whose families want respite programming, has been reduced by 80%, and we're going to eliminate it because of partnerships with CBOs like Light of the Prairies Society and Cheshire Homes and Elmwood Residences to provide those services to the disabled and to their families. Today in Saskatchewan, our municipalities finally have stable, predictable revenue sharing. This year, Saskatoon will receive over $37.8 million in revenue sharing from the province. That's an increase of $20 million, or 113% over what they might have received from the previous administration. Today in Saskatchewan, there are more than 3,400 new childcare spaces, 500 new spaces here in Saskatoon, and 19 brand new pre-K programs here in this city. Today in Saskatchewan, ladies and gentlemen, people are waiting for shorter periods of time before they get the surgery they need. The number of people waiting longer than 18 months for surgery is down 74%. The number of people waiting longer than 12 months has been cut in half. And we're doing that, by the way, because we're involving the private sector. We're involving private clinics within the... Careful in the front row. You could burst into flame when I say this sort of thing. But it's working. Within the public system, private sector clinic deployment is reducing wait times in the province, and we're going to continue that if we get a chance, because you know what, ladies and gentlemen, if given a choice between ideology and surgery, I think the people of the province would just as soon have the surgery. Today in Saskatchewan, we're building more long-term care beds for the first time in a very long time, and we're prepared to innovate here too. In Saskatoon, we're partnering with the Catholic Health Ministry, with Amicus, to build a state-of-the-art long-term care facility that I am so very proud of. It's the kind of long-term care facility where couples can age in place together, where we don't split them up, where maybe the husband needs a certain level of care and the wife needs a different level of care, and in the past they've literally been separated for the last of their 60 years together, maybe. Well, they'll age in place together. The vision of this particular center is that care would come first and that those patients would come first. And we've been accused by some that this is a grand conspiracy because it involves not public beds but this partnership with the Catholic Health Ministry. And if it's a conspiracy, I guess we're guilty of it. We're in league with the Church of Rome and seniors who want better care. And if we have an opportunity to deliver this kind of care in other parts of the province through this kind of partnership, we will do it every single time. Today in Saskatchewan, the debt has been reduced because of you by 44%, by over $3 billion, and the budget is balanced. And ladies and gentlemen, today in Saskatchewan, there's a government that's worked very hard to keep its promises. We've kept about 140 plus or so promises we made in the last election. We're going to be making fewer promises in this election. It is often said, though, that the best indicator of future behavior is past behavior. So that's how you know that the promises we do make in this campaign, we will keep in the years ahead if we're given the honor of forming the government. I hope this campaign isn't going to be a bidding war, because if it is, we're not going to participate. We can't afford that kind of electioneering right now. We need stability. We need fiscal probity to underpin the Saskatchewan advantage that we have while the rest of the world is facing some economic turmoil. We won't be immune to that. So we will, though, rather than offer a bunch of promises, present a choice to the people of this province. It's a choice between moving Saskatchewan forward as it has for the last number of years or making some other decision. I believe it's a choice between growth and decline. I believe it's a choice between confidence and doubt. I believe it is a choice between leadership and following. I believe it's a choice between optimism and pessimism. And I believe it's a choice of the future over the past. Today, again, because of you, your Saskatchewan is stronger and prouder and better. We have a lot of work to do still in infrastructure and in health care, so many other areas. But today in Saskatchewan, people are looking to the future with hope and with optimism, because the only day better than today in Saskatchewan is tomorrow in Saskatchewan. Thank you very much.